be like, okay, yeah, this is now something I can do, because it's not
just knowing you can do it.
It's not being tough enough to do it. That's not what it is. It's doing it even though you're not tough enough, even though
and even though you don't want to do it.
I don't want to do it. This is not something I'm comfortable with. I don't even know if I'm capable of doing it, and still doing it. That's where it's built.
It's different, you know, for me. Like, mental toughness is really being the first one to walk away in a fight, or being the first one to say sorry.
Because let's face it, like, life is going to beat the shit out of you anyway, right?
Is.
All the time.
All the time.
And just when you think it's going well, it's going to do it again.
Yeah.
So you have to, if you have that awareness to be like, okay, what do I learn from this and how do I prepare?
Yeah.
Welcome to the Strongpoint, where we're realigning our lives and creating a space for others doing the same. We're not here to mentor or preach. We're here to lock shields with people who still believe in strength, truth, and legacy. Let's get to work. Welcome back.
Episode 5 already.
Yep.
That's crazy. So, if you've ever wondered why some people stay steady under pressure and others collapse and fold, this episode is for you. So, we're breaking down what real mental toughness looks like. Like, what does real mental toughness look like? How to build it, how to use it, and how to lead with it.
Yeah, I think mental toughness is one of the rarest currencies in the world right now. And people completely misunderstand it because it's not intensity, it's more kind of endurance and
self-awareness.
Yeah, let's break it down, right? Mental toughness is not about appearing strong. It's about staying rooted when everything around you is kind of falling apart.
And it's not the loudest person in the room either.
No.
Sometimes mental toughness is sitting back and listening.
Yeah. I worked with a guy, this is years ago, who was built like a brick shithouse. He was huge, dude. And really nice guy, great leader to some extent. But when the chips were down, like when things went wrong, he would get like red in his neck and he had this throbbing vein in his forehead, and he'd lose his mind and he'd be yelling at people, and just all the wheels came off. Like, he had no idea what was going on. And it taught me back then that, like, just because a guy looks really strong doesn't mean that he has the mental fortitude to handle
high pressure situations,
high pressure or sudden stress or anything like that, you know?
Right. You know, it's crazy because not being the loudest person in the room, you know, sometimes, you know, you attend things and the person seems so tough because they're so loud. They're so in your face. They're so, you got to do this. You got to do that, you know?
Yeah.
That's not mental toughness at all. For me, mental toughness is sitting back, like I said, and observing.
Yeah.
And then taking action.
I think someone that fake confidence too, sometimes just to hide the fact
that they're not confident
that they're
at all.
lost, right?
Like for
me, they don't know what's going on.
Yeah. It's different, you know, for me. Like, mental toughness is really being the first one to walk away in a fight, or being the first one to say sorry.
Yeah.
You know, like, you have to be mentally tough to endure something that hurts you and walk away from it without having the last word.
Yeah.
Like, you don't always have to have the last word. You don't always have to give in. You don't always have to fight back.
Yep. You know, my grandfather used to say, if you're in a fight, whoever doesn't say anything wins the fight.
Absolutely.
Because if you can refrain from not speaking when you're in that emotional state, Like, what are you going to say that's going to make any difference anyway?
I will say this. I'm the pot calling the kettle black because, boy, when I get mad or someone says something to me, it's like horns grow out, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm learning how to hone that in. And I think it's all about learning, right? None of us are perfect. Like, when you spit at me, I'm going to hot loogie it at you. You know what I'm saying? I am definitely a type of person, a personality. I have to have the last word. I'm very loud, naturally. I think it's like my voice is at like a different octone or whatever you call it than everybody else's. I don't know. But when I'm at work, I'm a different person.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of things I will sit back and observe. You know, even though the ship is sinking, I warned them about that ship sinking. And I'm not talking about my current job. I'm talking about a past job. I warned them about that ship sinking months prior.
Yeah.
So here we are sinking. And then they come to me like, what do we do? Well, I told you 6 months ago what we should do. Right?
Yep.
And I said that. Right?
Yeah.
But I still jumped in and fixed it. Plugged the leaks. Right?
Yeah.
Mental toughness is that too.
Yeah.
It's being willing to know that you're right, but still jump in and fix it and solve it.
Yeah.
Without being like, I told you so, or I knew this was going to happen. Now you figure it out. Like, you know, there comes a time when you have to be mentally tough every day. The world is cruel.
Yep.
The world is absolutely cruel. And you have to learn to be mentally tough. It's not easy.
Yeah. And I think also you can't confuse it with being numb, right? I think a lot of guys especially think, well, I don't feel any emotion, and so I'm mentally tough.
Yeah.
But there's a level of emotional awareness
that means mentally tough.
That you need to have to be mentally tough. There's a level of emotion that you need to be able to feel and then still be able to control your reaction.
Right.
Like still be able to be resolute in where you're at or what you stand for or what you're trying to convey to somebody without getting emotionally charged in the way that you deliver the message.
I think emotions are a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Whatever gender you are. Like, you have to have emotion. Mental toughness is having emotion, but recognizing where that emotion is coming from.
Yeah.
And recognizing not to act on that emotion. Anger, don't act on it. Yeah. Right? You know you're angry. Walk away. You know you're sad. Go cry on your pillow. Yeah. Right? You know you're upset. Sometimes you have to talk about it too. Sometimes mental toughness is not being afraid to talk about that difficult situation of what upsets you, but come at it from a place of thinking about it, letting it settle, and not out of anger and not out of spite and not out of, I'm going to get one on you. Mental toughness is not having to be the last say.
Yeah.
You know? For me, anyways, that's what it is. You have to be committed to it. Motivation is a feeling.
Yeah.
Like, toughness is a system. It's not something that's natural. It's something that's developed. You know, I think as you age and as you go through things, I think your mental toughness develops.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree with that. I think, though, that there's got to be a conscious development too. Yeah. Like, I don't think it's just going to naturally happen. I think when you go through a lot of tough stuff, you have to still have that reflection and have the self-awareness to be like, okay, what did I just go through and how did it affect me?
Right.
And how do I now
grow from here
and then prepare for the next time it's going to happen? Because let's face it, like, life is going to beat the shit out of you anyway, right? All the time.
All the time.
And just when you think it's going well, it's going to do it again.
Yeah.
So you have to, if you have that awareness to be like, okay, what do I learn from this and how do I prepare?
Yeah.
Then 10 years down the line, you're facing your 5th or 6th crisis and everybody's like, this guy's awesome because he's so like just solid and stable. And nobody knows your story. Nobody knows that you've done this 5 times and you've learned every time.
Right. And it's also like, you know, what's something you still did even when you didn't want to do it. Like, that's mental toughness.
Yeah.
Like, I do things all the time I don't want to do.
Yep.
You know? And
like go to work every day.
Right. Wake up at 5
Not a
a.m.
fan.
Not a fan at 5 a.m. Driving to work every day because I drive far out. Not a fan. Traffic. I'm not a fan.
You still do it?
I still do it.
Yeah.
There's a lot, that you still have to do. Paying bills, I'm definitely not a fan. We have to do it. There's a mental toughness when it comes to anything. Like every relationship you have, whether friendship, whether spouse, whether you're with your kids, there's a mental toughness with it because people are going to hurt you.
Yeah.
People are going to say stuff.
Yeah.
And people are going to hurt your kids. And that's when you want to hurt them. You got to have mental toughness to not and realize they're 4-year-olds or realize they're 13-year-olds, And mental toughness is definitely a muscle that's developed and trained over time.
I agree with that.
For sure. Yeah. Adversity, exposure. Like toughness is built in struggle, not theory. Like you build mental toughness in struggle. For me, I became mentally tough in a bad way. You can also build mental toughness in a negative way. When my dad abandoned me, because then I had one foot out the door with every relationship. I was mentally tough, so I thought, because I don't need anyone.
Yeah.
I have myself. That's all I can rely on. You build it in struggle. When we literally almost lost everything before we sold the house, like we built mental toughness and realized that it's just material. It's just material.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Like we built mental toughness when we gave up our dream home. We didn't have choice.
Yep.
I think it's built,
I think you have to consciously do it though too. I know we go through enough crap in life as it is, but if you can control some of the circumstances, it's much easier to learn. So if you can put yourself in uncomfortable places, you put yourself outside of your comfort zone in things that you are not used to. Like, let's say you're really afraid of talking in front of people, like go and talk to in front of people.
Do it.
Because not only is it going to hone your skill of that talking, it's going to build that resilience that you have in your mind, to build that mental toughness, to be like, okay, yeah, this is now something I can do. Because it's not
just knowing you can do it.
It's not being tough enough to do it. That's not what it is. It's doing it even though you're not tough enough, even though
and even though you don't want to do it.
I don't want to do it. This is not something I'm comfortable with. I don't even know if I'm capable of doing it, and still doing it. That's where it's built. Like that's where that muscle is torn and repaired and torn and repaired and torn and repaired.
And then you keep doing it. It's like if you and your spouse argue all the time, walk away one time. Not mean, not out of spite. Just say, hey, I need a minute. That's going to change everything. And then come back at it from a different perspective. Don't act out of anger. Mental toughness, you don't act out of anger. I'm not saying you're going to be perfect. I'm definitely not. But it's something that we're learning. It's a muscle that you're developing. And discipline over emotion is so important.
Yeah.
Making choices based on vision and not feelings is huge for me. Like, I'm a feeler. I'm a woman. I am a feeler night and day. And I have to really think about decisions before I sporadically, out of the moment, just decide because of how I'm feeling. I'm a very emotionally based person, and I make my decisions based on that.
Yeah.
I'm aware of it, though. You have to be aware. I have to be on every day. I have to be on every day. I have to be ready every day. I have to be positive every day. I have to be team support every day. I have to lead through projects every day. I have to be on 24/7 and then come home and be mom and be wife and be, all of that too. And sometimes I'm tired. Sometimes I don't want to, but I have to. I have to show up. You are the weather you bring.
Yep. One of the best examples I have for making that giant change for me, when I was 35, I had been a personal trainer for a really long time, and I was always in great shape, and I was training all the time. And then when I was 35, I changed jobs, a little bit more sedentary, gained a bunch of weight, and then got really, really, really sick. And I lost like 80 pounds in 3 months. And I was home one day and I just felt like crap. I went to visit my folks. I was in South Africa at the time. And my mom was like, "You look terrible. We need to go to a doctor and see a doctor." So we go and they check my blood sugar, and my blood sugar is like sky high, an A1C of like 26. And they're like, "Oh my God," freaking out. They're like, "You're diabetic." And, freaking, and it was really, really crazy. And then the next time I went in to see a specialist, he was so funny. Dr. Fisher, he's still super funny. He'd always be like, "Hey, does anybody in your family have diabetes?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Wrong." you know? And I was like, "Oh, well, thanks very much." But I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Anyway, so I was really sad and bitching about it. It just was like I just was a bitch about it anyway. And so I'm crying about it on Facebook. And at the time, I was just like, "Oh, I hate my life. Yeah, whatever." And a really good friend of mine, Michael Keogh, who lives in Ireland, messaged me privately on Facebook. And he's like, "Hey, I know you're talking about this like it's the worst thing in the world. But it sounds to me like the best excuse to get in the greatest shape of your life, right?" And it was the kick in my ass that I needed to just be like, "Okay, you know what? Like, yeah, I feel like crap. Yeah, I'm mad at the world. Yeah, why would this happen to me?" Right? The guy was training 6 days a week and stuff. But hey, I can't let it change who I am.
Yeah.
And so I got my ass up and I got back in the gym and started training again. And within, 3 or 4 months, I felt great and my blood sugar was better managed and I looked better and everything. So it's deciding to be like, "Okay, yeah, I'm not gonna be weak. I'm gonna really get up and do this and then build the consistency just over time."
Right. That's a good one. And delayed gratification, like the ability to restrict short-term ease for a long-term value.
Yeah.
Short-term ease for long-term value. So in the moment, when you're mad and you're feuding or you're pissed or you think, life's like, just stop, walk away, stop. Mental strength is built when you can stop, when you can quit, when you can just say, enough. I'm going to let this go and I'm going to walk away.
Yeah.
And I don't mean walk away and divorce. I'm saying walk away for a minute, gather yourself, then go have a conversation.
Yeah.
You
Delayed gratification is probably a huge part of what we're trying to do as well, because we know a lot of the things that we're doing right now that we're trying to put in place and the things we're trying to get people to like lock arms with us and do, we may never see the fruits of. Like we might not see what this looks like, 20 or 30 or 40 years down the line. But I honestly believe if we start with the steps now, the compounded interest on the dividends that it's going to pay with our kids and their kids and their kids is going to vastly outweigh the amount of time and energy that we're putting into it now.
Yeah.
And if more people can understand that and know that that's what we're aiming for, we're not aiming even really for our kids, we're aiming for their kids and their kids, then it becomes the long game. And then it becomes, you can be more patient with yourself. You can learn more every time you do something or learn or make a mistake. There's a lot more grace when you understand that this is a very long term plan. It's not something that we're going to see next year or the year after.
No, for sure. We're in it for the long haul. So skipping comforts and investing in growth, and staying faithful through this process. You're not going to succeed every time. We say it every podcast. You're going to have fails, and that's okay. It's learning from your failure.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff we're covering right now is like, I don't want to say it's easy stuff because it's not easy for everybody, but it's kind of more simple things, and it's more like maybe just theory around it, where eventually we're gonna be talking about physically what kind of stuff you can do to train. We're going to be talking about nutrition. We're talking about like specifically how you should be eating and that I think for nowadays especially is so hard for people.
Right.
There's such a food addiction in the society. And so we'll get to that eventually. But right now, we want to make sure everybody understands the philosophy and the theory behind what it is we're doing and why we're doing it. So, and that mental toughness is such a huge foundational piece of that, because if we can't get ourselves to not do or to delay what we want to do right now and put the work in and put the discipline in to do the things that we have to do to build the blocks for this, we're lost as a society.
Yeah, we are. You don't need to wait for life to test you. You can test yourself.
Yeah.
Definitely test yourself. Yeah, that's easy.
Something that we talked about in the last episode was pattern recognition with regards to legacy. And I want to touch on that again, because I think when you look at your struggles and where you feel like you lose a lot of the time, or you feel hopeless, there is probably a pattern in there that you could recognize as well. Um, we have a friend who has a hard time managing his emotions when he's at work, right? And no matter how many times he's been spoken to, every now and then something will happen and he'll just lose it completely. And it's almost like it's impossible for him to understand the pattern. Like it's impossible for him to feel the emotion and then go, whoa, like I'm not doing this again. Like I'm just going to take the feedback and I'm going to go do whatever.
Right.
Because really, at the end of the day, it's just someone's opinion anyway. But understanding where you're losing, knowing what it is that you're doing, that you're struggling with. And the easy way to recognize this is find a place in your life where you feel the most helpless, where you feel like no matter what you're doing, no matter how many times you try or what you try, you just can't get a grip on it, or you can't succeed there. And I bet if you go and sit down and you write that down and write some thoughts around it and really start making sense of it,
Yeah.
you'll figure something out to address it. And if you don't, you put it in the community and
ask for help.
There's people that'll help you out.
Right. Awareness is the first discipline. You have to be aware of it. Aware of it. Meaning, where do you fall short? You have to be aware of it and you have to know yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's the first step.
Yeah. And then whatever your step is after that, understanding that it's the small things again. And I know we say this in every episode. We say it in every episode because it's so important.
It's foundation.
It's the reps, right? It's like when you go to the gym. It's the reps. You do the reps. You do the reps. You do the reps. Everything that you're doing, you can't look at what you're trying to do as a set, because it doesn't have that massive of an impact.
No.
Everything that you're doing is a rep. And you know what the deal is with reps, right? It's called a rep because it's short for repetition. So you do the same thing, whether it's every day or every hour or whatever it is, even if it's just capturing your own thoughts. If you're a really negative person and you have so many negative thoughts and stuff in your mind all the time, becoming aware of that and then capturing those thoughts and then immediately taking ownership of them and saying, okay, that's not okay.
Right.
I need to
flip it to positive.
I need to be thinking about something differently, or I need to be thinking about that situation from a viewpoint of what is the answer, what is the solution, or even just how do I feel different about this?
Right. How can I feel different about this? There is 3 sides to every story, yours, mine, and what really happened. And we all view it from a different lens. And I think it's important to know that.
Yeah.
And to see things different and to be open-minded, to hear other perspectives and to be willing and have the mental strength to realize that and to view it that way.
Yeah.
Like
promises made, right? You have to make promises to yourself, have to have grace with yourself.
Oh, grace and
but
grit.
Then also understand the expectations that you have for yourself. You can't just be like, I think I'm going to get up every day and work out. Like, that's not good enough. It's got to be really specific and it's got to be very clear expectations.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. and this is my workout split for the week, right?
Yeah.
If I only get in, I want to do a 3-day split because I might only get in 3 days, or I'm going to do a 2-day split because I might go in 6 days, right? Figuring that part out the planning of it puts you in a different state of mind for the expectation of what you have for
Yeah,
yourself.
absolutely. And you definitely need inner stability.
Yeah.
Inner stability. You have to be willing to be unshaken internally.
Yeah.
Like, even when everything externally feels shaky, like an earthquake, you have to be unshaken by what life throws at you. You can't let your emotions get the best of you. You can't fall under pressure.
Yeah.
You have to rise above what you're going through. And that's hard. That's hard. Like, what we're saying is hard.
Yeah.
And I'm not perfect at it. No one is. I fought an ugly custody battle for many years with my daughter. And there were times I really did lose it. I wanted to die. Like, I would lay in her room and just hold her bear when she wasn't with us.
Yeah.
And we fought a nasty custody battle that went to appeals court, that went to Supreme Court, that went to the, whatever. Like, it literally shook me to my core. How we won or how we got back what we were going for is the inner strength I had to have to do it.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to go to another court. I didn't want to go to another judge. I didn't want to go fight. I didn't want to do it. I didn't have it in me. I didn't have it in me to fight, but I had to for my baby.
Yeah.
And for me, it gave me a mental strength that I can't even describe.
I think we both, everybody who's involved knows that they got out of hand in that so big.
Yeah.
At the time too, there were so many things that could have gone wrong and the wrong direction. And we at the time we were like, we're so lucky that this happened and then this happened and then this happened.
We all did things
But
wrong.
there's
Yeah.
so many coincidences that we were just like, okay,
God's grace, God's
there's
grace,
no way
God's grace.
that this is coincidence. God had a plan in this, and He aligned up He aligned the planets or the stars, and this is the way that it worked out. And it worked out pretty fair, and it worked out really good for us anyway.
Yeah.
So, but any of those situations that we've been through, we've always had a habit of looking at it after the fact and saying, okay, like, what did we really learn from this, right? Is there something that we could have done differently? Is there something we could have done better? Should we have?
We could have been kinder.
Oh,
I
mean,
we could have been kinder.
a lot. But sometimes you have to be ruthless. I mean, you can be kind up to a point, and then you have to step on its neck.
Yeah, I was definitely ruthless. I was a different person then. But, also toughness and service of others. It's not about ego.
Yeah.
It's not about ego. It's about carrying weight for those who can't.
Yeah.
Like, you got to bear the burden of your brother too.
Yeah.
You got to see what they're going through, recognize it, and help them along.
Yeah. I mean, also, like, if I have some emotional and mental stability, who benefits?
Everyone.
Right? Everybody, my family first and foremost, then my team at work, right? One of my managers always says to me, like, you're always the same when you come in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had to learn that. That was a super long road for me to be, because I worked for somebody where every day on the way to work, I was like, you got a knock in your stomach, because depending on what mood he was in, that was the kind of day you were going to have.
That's
and
horrible.
I always was like, I never want to be that kind of guy. And so I consciously make an effort to, when I go to work every day, no matter what's going on outside of work, in my personal life, whatever, I try to be the same person, even keeled, calm, no matter what's going on, even if on the inside, like, I'm running around like a crazy person. On the outside, I'm like, hey, we're going to figure this out. Everybody needs to get together. We need to talk about this. Hey, yeah, let's figure this out. Let's work on this. Like, sometimes you just have to play the cards you're dealt, and that's what you do.
And your calm becomes someone else's anchor.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Absolutely. Every time.
Like, your calm
every
becomes
time.
someone else's anchor. Yeah, even when you're not calm, if you can mentally and emotionally and like physically be calm, that becomes someone else's anchor.
Yeah. I think there's a a valor almost in also being calm, being strong when like nobody's watching,
Oh yeah. And the
right?
unseen.
So you're doing the things that nobody's noticing and nobody even knows they're benefiting from. You're doing getting
But
up in the
that's
morning or
training
training.
yourself. That's mental strength. That's training that muscle.
Yeah.
You know, when you do it when no one's watching, it's easier when someone's watching.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's so much easier to remain calm if you constantly are in that state of calmness, you
Yeah.
know, or of mental strength, right? Like, you don't always have to be calm, but you need to come off as calm.
Yeah. And I mean, and I don't mean, I don't know if anybody's ever seen the movie Office Space, the scene right in the beginning where the guy's sitting in traffic and is like losing his mind.
That's me, for
That's a
sure.
great example of not doing the reps.
That's definitely me.
Of not doing the
That's
reps.
me. Yes.
No, I mean, anything that you can do that challenges you on a personal level that nobody is around to see, like that, do it. Do it every
people
single
should be-
day.
we have to work on ourselves every day,
Yeah.
on your own. Every day, you have to become better.
Yeah.
Every day, strive to be better.
And don't, like, never miss more than 2 days, right? It's the same as the gym. If you have something that you've set in stone and that's something you want to change, you want to work on it, right? You miss one day, okay, no problem. Everybody has a skip. The next day, you better be back. Like, don't miss 2 days in a row
No.
because then you lose that momentum that you had. So
Right.
get the momentum back and understand the value of the compounded momentum. Like, the more you do it, the better off you become. And it's like any skill in the world. If you have tenure in whatever your job is, you talk to anybody that has a long tenure in a job, any job, they will tell you that the reason why they enjoy or tolerate their job is because they're good at what they're doing. And that makes you feel good about what
Right.
you do. So get better, keep doing it until you're so good at it that it's like brushing your teeth.
Well, and the strongest people train when the world is asleep.
Yeah.
Some of the most mentally strong people that I know train when the world is asleep.
Yeah. I mean, you look at Olympic athletes. I love track. I love track athletics. And I have such a huge regard for it because it's you. That's it. You don't get to run against somebody else. You don't get a team. You don't get anybody help you out. Like, you get up at 4 a.m. and you get on the track and you do the work you're supposed to do. And nobody gets to see it until you're out there running in whatever meet it is, or if you make it
Yeah.
to the Olympics or something like that. Like, nobody sees the 9-10 years that you train to get there. They see the 11 seconds that you're running.
Well, let me tell you this. If you ever see me running, call 911 because I'm running from a bear or something because I ain't running. That's why God made cars.
Yes.
Yes.
I
Yes,
agree
yes,
with that
yes.
for sure.
For sure. I'm not running. If you do see me running, call 911.
Yeah. So some homework for everybody this week. This is a short episode, but we wanted to make sure we cover the mental toughness. The homework for this week is start some kind of physical strength.
Yeah, for
something,
sure.
anything, right? Whether it's walking or maybe get some dumbbells or some kettlebells. Kettlebells, awesome. Anything to just start, and just start with maybe 2 days or 3 days a week
Yeah.
to get some momentum going, right? Mental toughness. You got anything for that? For the week?
Yeah. Just when you're in a situation, pause before you react and listen to someone when they speak. Listen to the conversation. Don't listen to reply. Just listen.
Yeah, that's really good, actually.
Yeah.
And then all of that, put all of that in the comments. Put it in the homestead for us.
Yeah.
There's a great community page called The Campfire where everybody can just post stuff. I put some articles and the blog goes on there and stuff, but
Yeah.
you're more than well. Everybody's welcome to post on there, whether it's an issue they're dealing with or advice they want to give or just something they realized. Even if it's comments or feedback
Yeah.
or suggestions for
We
us,
want all that.
we'd really appreciate that. It's in the Campfire. There's a different space called the Arsenal where we'll post some PDFs and stuff you can download, maybe throw it on your fridge. We want that thing to be a tool for everybody to use and a great campfire for people to sit around and be able to talk to each other and, trade war stories or trade advice or talk about what's going on.
It's a community.
Yeah, like a real close knit community. It's private too, so you can only get through the website www.thestrongpoint.com. And then please remember that toughness is not noise. All right,
It's not
having
loud.
that mental strength, it's not about confidence or arrogance or anything like that. It's an internal resolve.
Right. Whether you're extroverted or introverted, it's still the same. So if this episode challenged you in any way, send it to someone who needs it. Send it to someone you know who you think needs it that will benefit from it. That's what we're here for. Follow us on Instagram and YouTube at The Strongpoint.
Yeah, and remember, you don't need hype. All you need is habits. And I'll tell you what, the strongest ones are built in the quiet and the silence and the darkness.
They sure are. And they're the ones that listen without trying to reply, or listening without replying. And as always, leave a review on Spotify or Apple. It helps more people find our community and more people find these podcasts. This is what we need, you all. The world needs it. This is what people like us need that want to make a difference. So again, www.thestrongpoint.com.
Yeah, any information that you need is going to be on there.
Yeah.
The podcast's on there. There's stores on there, everything. Please support us at the store.
Contact us. You can contact us. You can get in touch with us.
We love you guys. We love every person that signs into this and shares it. We love
thank you
that we're building this community. We're getting some really amazing feedback.
Yeah.
We'll probably do another 2 episodes or so, and then we'll do a Q&A or a feedback episode of just what the community is asking for and
what you all want to hear.
Telling us. I might, if you guys want to leave a comment below and let me know if you want me to do an episode of just mean comments that we're getting, and we'll discuss and laugh at some mean stuff that we're getting back. That's fine too.
That's funny.
I think it would be hilarious because we have some really dumb stuff that people say.
Yeah.
But yeah, we love you guys, and we'll see you guys in the next.
That's a part of saying mentally strong, because you don't respond back.
Yeah.
That's a good example.
We're gonna see you guys in the next episode. Stay strong, stay committed,
mentally train, y'all.
Connect with your families, and we love y'all.
Yeah, we love y'all. Bye, y'all.
Take care.